sometimes you struggling to give the order through the panel that he can speak or he cannot hear you well. You're repeating your order 3-4 times, and sometimes by the end at the window, your order is not the same.
Yeah, this is
Different
because
accent.
your technology is not good enough.
No, I don't have.
No, it's a human. It's a human.
No.
Now there is a new
I'm
technology
talking about
robot.
he cannot hear you.
It's a different
You're
accent.
trying to speak to him.
Yeah, I understand.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
And it's a big mess. If you buy your car and do different order, wrong order, you will stay in your spot until you have the right order.
So sometimes you're adding technology, but it takes away a little piece of the old experience that we used to have. But overall impact, I think technology is giving a lot of benefits, but we have to be very careful on how we're going to deploy that.
I'd like to add one. Sorry, go ahead.
No, please. Very interesting your point, especially in a market like this one, where you have people speaking their second or third languages.
Yeah.
Customers speaking sometimes their second or third languages, and
Takes time.
it definitely does.
Yeah.
And that's where I think tech enablement is a very important element of that. Referring here more to the fast food or quick service segment and the discussion around dynamic pricing and about demand-driven experiences, let's put it that way. When we look at our industry, it's dominated by a company who are the best in the world at not being terrible. And here's what I mean by that. When you look at a company like McDonald's, here's the certainties, no matter where you are in the world. You know the price. The quality is generally going to be consistent. The toilets are generally going to be clean, and you're going to get Wi-Fi. It's predictable. And the second we move that layer of predictability, at least from the quick service, fast casual element, we're going to find ourselves confusing our customers. The best example I've heard is regarding Usain Bolt, the sprinter. Before a race, he knows he's going to win, provided two things happen. The first thing is he gets enough protein, and the second thing is he doesn't get food poisoning. What does he eat for 2 weeks up to the Olympic final or a major race? Anyone? Chicken McNuggets.
Sponsored by McDonald's. But okay, it's like about consistency and like loyalty, right? Customer trust. That's it's a very big brand, of course.
Sorry, I was trying to add to that. I think absolutely the question is, how do you differentiate? And as some of the people said, everybody gets so many mails on loyalty. Everybody gets apps notification. I think consistency is absolutely what drives it. I also believe that because the landscapes change so fast, when aggregators came in, I think everybody moved a level up because you're not competing between QSR brands. You're actually competing with some of the best of the worlds, right? And that's why the technology keeps on changing, evolving, and you're kind of playing catch up. And I'm saying for the group actually, not just specific brands. It's all right. Thanks, sir.
I think that's a great bridge. I think we've prepared a couple of questions, and this was one of the questions I wanted to ask. Of course, the aggregators, right? So I came here to the region 4 years ago, also relatively fresh, but so I was before in Amsterdam, before that in Brazil for a while, and there you had basically one company doing the deliveries. When I came to Dubai, I see Talabat, Deliveroo, you had Zomato in the past, Noon, so it's like Uber Eats. It's a very saturated landscape, I would say. So what's the strategy like that you people have, like the brands, to basically, you see a lot of brands now also taking that service in-house. Are there any developments there, how you would like to optimize your own delivery, basically? Anyone?
I think it's about polygamy. You've got to get married with each aggregator. That's it. You cannot just live with one. Not only that, you have to make sure each relationship is happy. You've got to invest in each relationship. You've got to work with their marketing team, make sure that our marketing teams are absolutely in sync with every promotion that the aggregator is rolling out. And yes, all of them, multiple operators. I mean, now I think we are today dealing with at least 7 in this market. Yes, 3 of them are significant, 4 pretty much. and the others are smaller, but each is important because at the end of the day, you don't want to miss out on a single transaction. The opportunity to convert maybe a non-guest into a guest, the opportunity to wow an existing customer even more and make him come back and make him increase his frequency of usage.
I think, sorry,
Go on, go on.
I mean, aggregator is one thing, as you said, you have to sleep with them. But I think from our brand, like say, let's say Pizza Express, we were a casual dining brand, as we are not a QSR. But I think there's a lot to learn from these aggregators, because what these different aggregators taught our businesses, each customer profile under these aggregators have a different pattern of ordering, right? So that has actually taught us that in terms of R&D and food innovations, each segment has got a different value proposition that we need to give. So for example, Talabat will have a different category of customers. Deliveroo will have a different basket size. So my basket size in Deliveroo would be 100 plus and Talabat would be 50 plus. And the other aggregators, which you're saying, will have a difference. So I think data, how as a business are we going to utilize those data, and how are we going to enhance that in terms of innovation, and at the same time telling your teams how to be prepared. We always knew that, I'm sure all of you know that, you have to make that 30 minutes radius in order to get your catchment area. It's very easy to do it. Algorithm will tell you in Deliveroo, hey, if you miss out on your KPIs, you're going to lose your delivery is going to shrinking. So that's where as business telling us with AI and tech, hey, if you're going to keep these touch points available, you're able to reach and get your business. So I think let it be n number of aggregators. It's us as a business. How are you going to manage those information that you have and you receive, and you're going to execute it? And things are changing. I mean, you won't believe, as you said, delivery with facial recognition will be able to tell a customer what his previous orders were. Even in dine-in, I would be able to come from a reservation platform to say, hey, this customer's favorite table was this, and hence his previous order was this. And you are able to allocate staff planning, training. So there's lots that you can actually take out from this whole tech, and that's how we want to strategize.
I can imagine you also would like to at some point you need to work with all of them. You basically are married
Absolutely.
with 7 of them, but I can imagine you also would like to get rid of some and drive more traffic to your own direct sales channels. What's there the take, right? Because in the end it brings you traffic, but it also costs you a lot of money, right? The fees are definitely not something you can deny.
Lately, I'm not sure if you can agree with me or not, but there is a segment of our customers start to recognize that if I order directly, it will be better, it will be faster, I will have a better value of my order. And that encourage, I think that goes well with the QSR because of the volume. Because if you get to do a simple calculation on how many delivery you do per day, per rider, it's not going to work with a lot of casual brands that we have a low volume. But QSR is perfect example that you can really do your own delivery, still be profitable. At least you can have a control of a certain value of your revenue. And you're going to be tough in the negotiation with the aggregators as well. The minute that you raise your revenue, your own delivery, and benchmark it with the highest, let's say Talabat, you are in a very, very good position.
I think I'll add to add. Sorry.
No, you were first.
Okay, to add to that, each brand is different. We're not talking here about one size fits all. We knowing that the biggest brand didn't go away from the aggregators. McDonald's have their own, but they're not away from the aggregator. So the restaurants will still need them, but how much you rely on them is the question. Driving in-house mean these are your loyal customer who's gonna come back and order from your app no matter where you are. Same if you are not on your in-house. Some brands will drive the sale. So if I'm looking for X brand who is very well known, if I don't find it on Talabat, I'm gonna go and search for it on Deliveroo or on Careem. While new emerging brands or where competition is very close with quality, then you might lose your sale to someone else on those. So bringing this in-house for a strong brands will mean there is a cost saving, there is a direct connection with your customer, you keep them happy, you come to them faster. So it is also about the balance. Not everyone can survive without them, and not everyone can have it in-house, but bigger brand will have bigger chance to do this and take more market share into their own delivery.
Can I add something, please? So I'm aligned on the balance and between in-house and aggregators, and as well as that you have to marry the aggregators. It's the main revenue channel to every business, especially when you're talking about casual dining. But the challenge was always, and coming from my experience with many operators, the challenge of having your a direct delivery. It's great to save on commission, but the fleet cost sometimes it becomes too heavy and it becomes a fixed cost, and especially during seasonality. So let's say during summer days when your sales are dropping, but you still have a fixed cost in your company because of the labor cost, it becomes a bit challenging. So it will always depend on the volume of your deliveries and how fast you are, how prepared you are logistically as well.
Yeah, and it shouldn't be about the cost.
Yeah.
And here we're talking competition, we're talking other brand really close. And here we're talking about how do you connect your guest, how are you closer to your guest. So if you're prepared to pay that price to keep your best customer happy, you're prepared to do it. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. It's not just for the cost. The cost might be very close anyway.
Sorry, I'd like just one thing. I mean, we're all talking about aggregators. It's a love and hate relationship. The problem is no one's mentioning their fees. The fee is the problem. It's not them as a service. If you go to California, the max they can charge is 15%. If you go to Qatar, the max they can charge is 19%. Whoever you are. Here, the big operators maybe get 13, 15%. The smaller operator goes up to 35%.
Right.
So the problem is not the aggregator as a function. The problem is how they're milking the restaurants. And no one's, I mean, today Talabat or very soon is going public. Talabat's going to make, it's gone public. There you go. So they make more money than we do. They're making more money than we do, and we're feeding them.
And there is
that,
no limit, right? They can increase it.
There's
of
no
course.
control.
And the data, I believe one of them, they own the data.
They own the
this is the
data.
main
It's not our
concern.
data. But
Your
all of
customer
us
yes, is
are
not
agreeing
absolutely
to it,
yes.
right? Because we have no choice.
Absolutely.
As I said, love-hate relationship. We
But
need
the
them.
point that you mentioned, it's important. Yes, if you have a size that you can have this,
Absolutely.
but if you are small, medium size, you cannot hire or have the bikes and
I
the
need
risk
the
of having
aggregate.
them.
I need the aggregate.
Yeah,
I
it is.
cannot survive without them. Can I have my own fleet? I had 5-6 riders, but
So-
it doesn't make sense for
So
me.
need to have some association
So
to
for me, it
control
makes-
this business.
Correct. So the thing is how to control that.
To control this
The
business.
thing is, the operators continue to forget that the product belongs to them.
Absolutely.
And they just don't act on it and allow the aggregators to rule the roost. Now, love, hate, I don't know. Now I've decided it better be just love, because without that,
It's good.
it's going to be divorce. So,
Like we've tried to make at least one day shut down on Talabat, one day, and see what will happen. They'll go crazy. But again, the operators won't do that because some of them are getting great commissions, others are not. Some of them are happy with it, some of them are not.
True.
So at the end of the day, they have to manage their own P&L. So you can't blame anyone.
This is why I respect the cost fact she mentioned here. It's very important.
Absolutely, yeah.
We cannot neglect that.
Is it there is a hyper relation with them that you can use their own drivers and bikes, but you have your own platform? Is there this? I'm not sure.
Marketplace only.
Marketplace, yes.
Marketplace. Yeah. So I believe this is one of the solutions. Maybe.
Yeah, but not everyone
The platform,
can
no,
get
but,
on it.
but
It's
yeah,
not
I know,
option
but
for everyone.
platform from technology perspective, if it's now we're providing the technology, it can be affordable by the small medium business as soon as the logistics is taken care by these people. At least you own your data. And you will be negotiating with them about because they just need to move the bikes, so you can negotiate with them for price.
It's not that easy as you think.
Not easy, right? That's why I need to hear that.
There are
What's
some-
what's
there
the
are some
concerns?
that
Big
provide
brands,
that,
big
yes.
brands have the ability to do that.
Yeah.
I think
As
we
a platform.
can think about it from. I'm going to start from her point about the fixed cost.
Yeah.
I think we should look for another solution to make this fixed cost being variable somehow. And that goes to maybe a system called pooling system that pick up the driver who is nearby the restaurant. Instead of have fixed cost
Dedicated.
of 20 riders, you can just minimize that.
Yeah. So back to
and-
dynamic
But
pricing.
It's
the Uber-
technology again.
the Uber
Again,
of
it's
the-
technology.
of the delivery.
Yeah.
But the problem with the aggregator, I think the customer experience being ruined over there. I have to
All about
admit.
discounts.
I have to admit.
It's all about discounts.
Not only that, the delivery comes late. Sometimes the rider doesn't show up in time. there's a lot of hustle.
And we
going
noticed,
around.
yes, when I order direct from the brand, I saw different
Exactly.
packaging.
The problem is the
I'm not sure if
restaurant
in
gets
purpose.
blamed.
I'm not sure if they do it on
Yes,
purpose.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So we have to go back with our customer feedback and then please give us the number of the customers. No, we cannot. But how do we communicate and explain to the customer to retain him? But you can't do that as well.
There's two fundamental, let's say, divergent goals, what restaurant operators have and what delivery service providers have. Delivery service providers are interested in data capture and, if at all, becoming a semblance of profitable. Yeah. On the other hand, you've got the restaurant operators. So there's a fundamental disconnect in terms of what the goals are, and hence, the love-hate relationship. And let's say, I think your point was very powerful. I fundamentally believe that consumers are prepared to pay a premium for an enhanced experience. And I think I can give you an example of that from my own company, Wingstop in the United Kingdom. We work with Deliveroo only. We were a multi-aggregator. We built a relationship with them where our calls matter to them. When we have a friction or an escalation, we ring Deliveroo. There's actually a dedicated desk there. Last month, Wingstop 8-piece boneless chicken was the #1 ordered item on their menu. And those levels of strategic partnerships are extraordinarily rare. And as a matter of fact, we have essentially 3 of them at the moment. The gentleman's point about incrementality, if I have 6, 7 hooks in the sea, I'm going to be more incremental in terms of the transactions I'm going to generate. But there's a fundamental challenge with that. Our job is to drive trial into frequency, into loyalty. If a 3rd or 4th tier delivery service provider is the access point for a first-time consumer of our product, perhaps the propensity of that consumer to order again, as someone mentioned, they don't blame Deliveroo, they don't blame...
They blame the brand.
They blame us.
Well, how is the loyalty thing in your opinion? Because I see that the customer loyalty can change very quick these days. It's not like the old days when the customer is really loyal to the brand and he's giving a chance to, giving a room for mistake and a human mistake maybe. I think the customer nowadays is not the customer that we used to have 10 years ago.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a specific loyalty to anyone.
Can I just give an
Mostly
example?
about value and
I love that because I'll give you an example, right? Every Friday at our office, we get like a credit from Deliveroo, order whatever you want. It's your cheat day. Right. And everyone makes fun of me because I order the exact same thing every single time. Because as to your point, it's about consistency. It's about getting there on time. I know what I want. I don't have to think about it, and it doesn't take time out of my day. Right. And I think things are changing because that is the same why McDonald's might be unhealthy, but it's consistent, right? And you can't get mad at them. Okay, 1 out of 10 times it's bad, or it might be like fries are stale or whatever it may be. I think that in the changing landscape, I'll give you an example for McDonald's. Right, when they first launched their app, they had 7 million signups throughout, and all they did was offer their most or the most frequent kind of item on their menu, which was the $1 ice cream cone for free, right? And that was to capture the data to see that brought people into the store, increase their customer lifetime value. It gave them a reason to interact with the brand. I think what we're trying to get to here is that when you deal with these aggregators, you not only just lose on data, also 20 to 35% you just mentioned on your costs and your profits are decreased. I guess the question to the group is like, what is the path forward? You said love relationship. You can't really get away from them. Is there a kind of path to owning some of that? You might not get all of it. Is there a digital path to kind of owning that relationship a little bit more with your customer so you can give them a personalized experience?
So with our brands, some are larger than others. I think this tends to be a trend in the industry. But there's a lot of frustration around the business model, right, with aggregators. I personally feel, and what we see, that people become loyal to the app rather than loyal to your brand. To the point, it doesn't really work for everyone, but I've seen a big shift with larger QSR organizations, at least trying to get a larger slice of that pie. So something that we're trying to do, we want to own as much of that as possible. and that is doing our own digital infrastructure, because then we can tailor it the way we want. So the data is important. I think we can drive loyalty in a way that's more, that is better for our brands, and we understand our consumers better. But ultimately, if there's a path forward to reducing the dependency on those aggregators, I think everybody, irrespective of the scale of their brand, would look to it. Right? And it's not, there's no hate towards the aggregators. They saw a business model. I've certainly seen over the last kind of 3 years post-COVID that shift of getting everything on those platforms as soon as possible is now starting to turn a tide.
Yeah.
And everybody got a plan in place to, okay, how do we get as much of that pie back?
Yeah.
Now, that won't be overnight, but certainly for us strategically, over the next 5 years, right, we need to own as much of that as possible.
I'd like to give one example. It's for Domino's US. And Domino's, as many of you know, is known as the technology-first company. And so for a long time, Domino's in US, it's the #1 player in US, didn't interact with any aggregators at all. In fact, it was not available on aggregators till last year. After lots of research, the understanding happened last year is that it's a new set of customers who will not download your app uniquely, but will go to this online food court. And that's why a huge source of acquisition, right? And that's not new, actually. All of us know that. But US, for the first time last year, actually tied up with Uber Eats, right? At the same time, we are like 250 engineers in the building in US head office, and they are data crunchers, right? So one of the clear thing is that loyalty is the way to actually keep your consumers for retaining them and also acquiring them, actually. So all these, I'm sure in this room, many of us, all of us actually work back of how do you retarget people from aggregators, having unique offers on your own platform. Those actually solve a little bit, but the excitement of the bigger brand is as important because we are talking about conversions. But marrying to the brand or connecting with consumers at a brand level is the most important, is what they realize. So top funnel is as important, right, in driving overall brand love and then ensuring that your own data is used while partnering. And that was something very interesting. That's only US, obviously Middle East, we have been using aggregators for a long time. It does become, as Tapan said, you have to get on, but at least create your own unique identity. Because honestly, like even in our phones, how many brands do we have as an app? Only 3 or 4 whom you really like, right? Otherwise, you are using aggregators because you can't afford so many apps and gonna choose so many brands. So it's data, as you said.
And especially if this app, you can't get any delivery unless it's exclusively on their app. Yeah. This is where you have the power. If you are available here and you're fighting over taking the customers away from the aggregator, it might be a bit too late or hard work. But once you launch a brand with this vision in mind, that you can only get the delivery through our apps and later on decide if you want to have 1 aggregator or 2 getting added. This is how it starts healthier instead of starting at your under the aggregator contract. You start on your own, you start strong, and then as you grow further, you can add a couple of channels after that.
Just to build on for KFC, what we've done is, yes, we also have the love relationship and it also complements our strategy to be partnering with aggregators. We can't discount that. But what we have done is, we've started our journey 5 years back where we owned our app. So it's an app with omni-channel. So we have a click and collect app. So, where you can the customers can place an order and collect it from the store, which differentiates us from the aggregators because we own the stores. And then delivery has been our utmost priority. And this has helped us, as everybody was speaking about consistent experience, we've been able to drive consistent experience. And cost has, everybody's been talking about cost. And one of the key drivers for us was to make sure that, we are able to efficiently save here the cost so that, we can further invest with our customers, basically to drive a better experience. And this is what we have been doing. Just to give you a context here, in some markets, we are having an equal ratio of a mix of sales with aggregators. So this has helped us, give an upper hand so that, it helps us negotiate with them and also drive a better experience and strengthen brand relationship basically with our customers.
Absolutely. And this is what I said, the minute that your revenue, your own delivery revenue, on the same benchmark as the aggregator, then you have the upper hand. But there is a new segment came up, which is the cloud kitchen, based on the delivery business. So this is how big is the matter, and I don't know how the future will look like cloud kitchen brands.
It's a slow down. The idea is slow down because
Purely on delivery.
slow down because the people is after the COVID. Okay, we used to sit at home and order online, but now we need to go back. We need to have the experience with family in the store, even a quick service. I need to go there. So that's why the concept of the cloud kitchen, ghost kitchen, is a little bit slowed down.
Many cloud kitchens have already closed down.
Yeah, I know.
And it's a tough business model. But again, some of them are churning out 1,000 or 1,500 deliveries a day, so they can do that. They have the volume. Yes, the margin is quite small, but the volume is quite big, so they can survive.
Remember, the idea was even to create a X brand, either it's a pizza or burger, no matter what's the name of that brand, and just share it and deliver it. But it was a crazy
I
idea.
remember from my restaurants, I had 8 different brands coming out. Because it was
no
COVID, we
name.
had to do anything, right?
No, so
And
cloud
we stopped it.
cloud kitchens have been closing down, yes, but consumer behavior has not changed. They continue to pick up the phone, place an order. And so going back to your point about having your own app, drive your own customers, and your point, Gaurav, about there being this new set of consumers who only use aggregator apps, the complexities get even worse. Because even within the aggregator domain, you've got a set of consumers who will only use, say, Talabat, another set who will only use Deliveroo, and so on and forth. And then there is another set who will check everyone and decide based on the offers. And it's an unbelievable world, and the only way to win them is by love.
I think that's interesting because I think there is still a lot of hope for big brands because we've been talking now a lot about the aggregators and online delivery, and that's basically on a click of a button, right? There's not a lot of emotion attached to it. So I had a couple of weeks ago my cousin over from Brazil. It's a young guy, 21-year-old, and he said, "I want to go to Five Guys." So I had to take him to the Five Guys in Dubai Mall on a Friday night. So that was a lot of fun.
Taking him to Shake Shack.
Sorry, and we did that the day after because he did a bit of burger contest. But so what I saw there, that was my first time Five Guys, that it was an experience, right? Because you have a couple of options, so just a burger and I think a cheeseburger, and then you can select 15 ingredients, they make it, and what I also, maybe that's specific in Dubai Mall, but I got this big bag of a lot of potatoes, way more than I needed. So I think that's something that they are really investing on. Okay, how can they stand out compared to all those other burger joints, right? You have
It's a brand pillar.
Yeah, exactly. So I was wondering, let's maybe you can move the discussion a bit to the dining, the dine-in part. What are technologies or concepts you use? Hey, we see now a lot of self-ordering kiosks popping up here and there. What is your take on that? How can you offer that unique experience nowadays to the younger generation, in the dine-in, in the restaurant itself?
I can actually share with you a story from KFC. When I was responsible for KFC in the region, I was visiting a restaurant in Al Barsha, and we had 27% frictions on dine-in and takeaway. So 1 in 4 transactions, there was an issue. I mentioned the second language, serving a third language. So in the corner was 4 kiosks. And I was like, okay, I'm coming from Central, Eastern, Western Europe. So my mindset was, okay, we have an accuracy issue. I think there's a solution there. Can I coach them to the answers? So I said, what's that transaction volume through the kiosk? And the answer was not a number. It was 5 reasons why the customers don't want to use them or they don't work. The first one was the customers don't want to use them. The second was you can't pay cash because you have to go back and forward. The third one is you can't exchange the carbonated drink for a water on the menu. And the customer journey was not optimal. Within 6 months, I would say we hit 84% transactions, only dine-in, takeaway, and this is probably 70% of the system. 3% was the resultant outcome in frictions. $1.29 on average guest check. And there's tremendous research out there about the consumer behavior with the key, the whole pentameter of QSRs. Hi, welcome to KFC. How can I help you? And what you're going to do is, I'm going to choose that one. And actually, McDonald's did some great research where they actually identified through kiosks, there's a wider spectrum of products purchased versus than the face-to-face interaction. But the fundamental thing that we learned from that exercise is accuracy. It doesn't sound very glamorous or not the most exciting thing to talk about, but the fundamentals customers are looking for within this QS or experience are predictability. Yeah. The second thing is not to be rushed, to be stressed into the purchase. And the third real important learning we had was we deployed cashiers that were basically leaning behind a counter, 2 or 3 of them. We put one behind just for cash purchases, and we redeployed that labor, one in back of house for expedition, but the other one became a greeter. Welcome to KFC. May I help you take your order? Yeah. And that was really transformational for us as a business, especially with that customer experience, which was marked by 27% frictions, which is just too much, too high.
Even that
You're raising a point on QSR. So for a casual dining restaurant, it's similar, right?
Yeah.
Customer experience the same. How quick can you turn tables? How can you increase average spend? And that's why I was talking about how data-driven right from the time of reservation of Stefan is coming in, he's a vegetarian, he likes this table. This is how we are able to interact, and he knows, okay, you have your key memberships handling that particular table. So it helps, like how users said, touchpoint. So again, utilizing your core data of building a business and investing in that is where the future is. I mean, it also talks about with that data, we are even able to track of how much inventory we want to have. How can you plan ourselves for ahead for the evening? And we would also know the likes of certain customers. Reservations are coming for Friday. Friday data would say I have 65% of Europeans are coming from a brunch. They are all going to be beer drinkers. This is the beer stars that I can have. So you see, that kind of valuable information helps business like us. I mean, that's where technology will really, really help. Now we're talking about cryptocurrencies as well, right? Yeah. We talked about payment gateway. That was a challenge where none of us carry cash nowadays. We're all talking about tap and pay, credibility. You're able to withdraw the fact of you don't have to invest on a system where you to pay TransGuard to come and pick up your cash. Fraudulent is not there. Now that data, where is it going to be? How is it going to be secure? And how are you going to manage that API to our backend resources, whether it be Microsoft ERP? These are the challenges that, especially in this region, you have lots to offer. Like, I mean, you guys are coming with a new tech solution. There are already so many of the players. And like business like us, how are you going to fit in that to go back to your own strategy of value proposition and customer is where we'll always, I think every business, all of us sitting here, will look out and we'll keep an eye on.
I'm slightly digressing, but this point you brought up about cash, I have tried in the past, but I don't think there's any business currently trading in the region who doesn't accept cash.
Yeah.
And I have tried with my teams. Can we go cashless? No one's ready, including my team. They are not ready to go cashless.
The region is not ready. But if you go out, we have some restaurants in London, for example, in specific places, totally cashless.
Yeah. You got to incentivize that behavior.
Yeah.
Sorry?
You got to incentivize that consumer behavior.
True, but
you can't just expect them.
Even Amazon has cash on delivery.
Yeah, now COD.
No, but exactly.
Powerful in terms of the consumer.
But having said that, imagine when you're paying X% on your payment gateway versus nothing on your cash. But then there are other problems with cash where you have to manage the cash and you are throwing your doors open for pilferage, etc., because it's cash.
Yeah.
So the best thing to do is to make it cashless, I guess, and take the hit on payment gateways. But the region is not ready.
Just to give the option, I think.
No, the balance. It's always the balance. Today, the customers are ranging from 80 years old to 18 years old. And one solution wouldn't fit them. Some people still are attached to cash. They don't want to use the kiosk. But we see from our business that we have 40% in some locations from the store business going into kiosk and digital channels, where in other area, depending on the demographics, depending on, you can see this dropping down to 10. But it doesn't mean, even at 10, that I should be removing it, because I still want to cater to the ones who want to use it. And as the gentleman said, you can see that they take their time ordering on a kiosk, exploring more menu option, adding more, so the basket size on kiosk is always bigger than being on the cashier. And it has some psychological effect as well. Being in front of a person, you want 2 double cheeseburgers, you would feel judged by that person. Like, is there someone with you? But on the kiosk, you can order them all for yourself without feeling that judgment.
Yeah.
Even that is evolving because I think the kiosk come with a big investment as well. And I can see brands now using the QR code, just the self-ordering. So you have it in your app. You just queue, see the app, you order. You increase your basket size. You order what you want. No one is seeing you because you have your own privacy. I think the segment of the security, how the brands are managing the data, this is why the cash is still there. There's a big segment of the customers, they still worry about my data, what you're going to do with it.
One example I'd like to give to Tapan's point about cash, and very interesting, it's probably cultural, because China is another market in our region which I look after. There is 100% business is cashless.
It's cashless.
100%.
Yeah.
So there's not even a single transaction a year in a Domino's restaurant which is in cash. So when you walk in a store also, same the whole kiosk. But they also have very interesting innovation in carryout. All the stores have counters where you have already pre-ordered, and in a carryout you just walk in, have the scan QR code, and these are hot boxes. You open the box and take your pizza away. So there is no human interaction. Obviously, there's no judging because you have already pre-ordered in carryout. And carryout is substantial business for China Domino's. But it's so interesting how culturally people are different. And as you rightly said, Middle East is not ready maybe. In fact, a large part is still cash across all QSRs. But absolutely, maybe it'll come. But I think technology can help, especially in experiences like this box idea of carryout. Or when you are driving through 5 minutes earlier in US Domino's, your pizza is ready, your name is on the counter. I think friction reduction could help. And maybe there's one day in Middle East when people are using more on card and online.
So there's no more experience
There's no human
with anyone in the restaurant. Just
No,
come,
you
take
need-
your order and go.
I mean, it's
can,
a transaction.
That's fine.
You
Just,
can.
just transaction.
Like kitchen.
I'm wondering how it looks like or how the customer will feel
Yeah,
about it.
I'll give you an example. I don't know if you guys have seen this. This video went viral over the weekend. If you go in China, it was a Chinese supermarket, and the guy's like, so you're a Western Hemisphere person. They basically went in and they're paying, and he's like, look, I have no wallet. I don't have any cards. I don't have anything on me. All he did was put his palm there, biometrics, and it debited the card. I think the
Scary.
Yeah,
Scary.
it is scary. But there's stores now, even
Yeah,
in the
exactly.
region where you enter, and they know who you are. You could take something and leave,
Yeah, that's
and
it.
they will credit your account. So I mean, it's already here. Things are going to move. The rate at which they move might be stagnant. It might vary region to region. I love talking about payments, so I guess this is a good plug in terms of just understanding, right? Like when it comes to, we talk about here at Adyen a lot about the inverted pyramid, right? You guys are spending a lot of money on research and development. You're spending a lot of money on your marketing. There's a lot of things that happen before someone actually taps their card or puts their credit card information in, Apple Pay, etc. Right? Where we see the friction happening as a payments company is after they're actually doing that, whether it's online or in store. Can you guys give us examples? I'm just trying to understand how much has that evaluation been done within your businesses in terms of payments being a source of friction?
So I can add to this. Firstly, to drive a seamless and frictionless experience, payment has to be easy for our customers. And that's why we have given diverse payment options like Apple Pay, Samsung, and cash. Yes, cash it's been a journey. We started off with a cash, wherein the cash market was 60%, now it's half of it, right? But giving them a diverse payment options, and also making sure that safety and security is taken care, where they don't even have to enter CVV number. That has been a journey for us. Earlier, if you remember, when you actually integrate with any banks or anything, first it takes you to the third party site where the customer has to enter the OTP number or any verification number, and then leads back to the brand site. We have actually eliminated all of that, and that has helped us ease the process for our customers. And I think not us, I think the customers really are demanding for this, and it's more of an expectation from a customer these days. And I would say if one thing that we optimize continuously is how can we reduce that time.
Yeah.
It's a convenience and for the customer. That's how I see it. It's more on the convenience, how they prefer, but on the operator, first they look at the P&L. Again, going back to the cost, you try your best to really how to get the best rates when you're paying any credit card commission, and what type of support you might get in case of any issues later that are faced by any customer, double payment, or things like that, and the type of response that you get from any service provider. Yeah.
But she's absolutely right. The transaction fee is very important. It eats in your margin. So again, during dine-in, if I can have just a QR code direct payment, then we really have to consider what this fee is. You know,
How
if
much
it's too
does
high,
it cost?
how much does it cost for us to do this?
But again, this is one topic that we've been talking about QSR. I'm gonna swap now to casual dining. It might cost you 1%, 2%, whatever it is to scan. But how much does it cost you if your store is busy and you have a queue of people waiting for 40 minutes? The turn on table will be probably about 10 minutes saving, which would allow you to have 15 additional tables during rush time. On
and
lunch
also
and on dinner.
Customer experience.
Yes.
Because when you mentioned about the experience about someone asking and taking care of the customers, taking time for making order, but at the same time in the table, the customer want to leave immediately when he finish, right, with the family. So the easiest way to exit from the table. Can you imagine that waiting 10 minutes till the waiter bring him the machine or bring him it's a nightmare. So even if the food was amazing and the server, the bad experience will happen in the end.
And they'll always think the last part. So
Absolutely.
even if they had a fantastic experience, there's a 5-minute delay.
That's it.
Especially with big groups when you
So
have
that's
split
why
payments.
the exit and this link, you need to invest.
But I think even with waiters, I think waiters notice.
So it's something that we've adapted, of course, and also going back to the financial part, we noticed, of course, that the people are paying higher tips than before.
Absolutely.
We talked about this last time.
If it makes
Because
sense,
there is an option to split it. Because we are four, we're split it, so everyone have a different type. So
I have a question to ask, out of everything. Is there a demand of this buy now, pay later request? Like you see now you have this Tamara and thing coming in retail. Yeah, so is it there in your restaurants? Because you see now there's an option where a customer can buy now and pay later, like for bulk orders. Is that something which is there in your radar? I mean, in the food.
I didn't see it.
I wouldn't consider it.
I mean, for our customers asking because
we have it with travel agencies where we have
but in the food, in the restaurants.
in the restaurant. But they would come in maybe 50, 60 people, but they come in like maybe
bulk orders
and then we have it payment at the end of the month.
B2B in this case,
it's B2B,
because
I
some
would say,
requests, some requests have come.
Customers, of course, maybe big orders, maybe events, corporate events.
That's it.
You have to deal with it as credit, but
Other
daily
than
transactions,
think-
I would say
Very
our
tough.
main strengths in this industry is that you don't have AR. Much of accounts receivables to manage, and the headache of doing it. So it's a direct cash business.
This is something interesting that came into our next year budget.
It sounds like something a think tank came up with. And there's one thing that worries me about this industry, having been in it many years. It's the institutionalization, or am I saying that word right? I don't think I'm saying it right.
I don't know it's
So it's becoming more institutional in terms of ownership. Yeah, I mean 3G made that big move into RBI, and from my own perspective, I can see it very, very clearly as a very, very prominent market trend. The challenge with the food business, look at finance and banking, or even health. All of those businesses were digitalized by the biggest player in the industry. The F&B industry was digitalized by non-food people, by operators. And it became a data play like an Airbnb or an Uber. So how I see that manifesting itself, like I think two great examples today were, making those big calls. Do we do away with cash and suffer in the short term? Do we go to, exclusivity with one delivery service provider, or do we institute our own proprietary channel? But the very challenge with this business is it's the hamster wheel. It's versus last week, last month, last year. And I think that, again, like the delivery service providers, the more institutional F&B and restaurants become, the more short-term we're going to be. So you're not going to get a break on next year's budget or AOP, for 6 slack months. you know, to do what fundamentally, to make that right strategic call for your business.
Exactly. Great.
Point on. I love it. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Amit, you would like to talk about other, I think we have still another 10 minutes, 20 minutes officially, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, I
Time?
was just understanding. I thought there would be more pain points around payments.
Yeah. No, we
I
can.
believe one of the pain is that because of that the different culture and different way, we end up that we have we are moving for the new technology, but we still have a legacy. So you see that in your restaurant, in your platform, you have two systems.
Yeah.
The old one is still because the people want to use cash. So the idea of removing all the POS, for example, in the restaurant and be like a self ordering, but still you need to have a cashier. Yeah. Or the cash drawer for the people who are using cash. So this, I believe, it's how you feel about this, having dealing with the legacy system while you are moving with innovation and digitalization, because of the nature of the order.
No, some of the new POS are very futuristic. You don't have to be the legacy ones. So the new ones are cloud. They can be on portable devices. You can have smaller space. So it doesn't have to be the old thing. They're still evolving those. And you need a POS either ways because because all your sales will have to go through the POS, not just through the kiosk or the app.
Yes.
So this is a need. So the best way you can do it is make it look as futuristic as your restaurant.
Yep. And no pressure on the POS with all these channels. At the end of the day, will hit that POS in the back.
So here's an idea, going back to this cash conversation.
Yeah.
So I've been toying with this idea for a while, and your feedback would be very welcome. I've been thinking, why don't I consider charging 5% as cash handling charge to any customer who pays using cash? What do you think?
Yeah.
5% if somebody's paying.
To cover the expenses of card and
The problem is if you
5%,
start
5% is high. Today the service fee is probably 1 to 2%.
5
If
is
you keep it consistent, people might just keep going.
I mean, how would you communicate that to your customer?
this is the thing, because if he started, he will get all the heat.
Everyone else will.
Everyone else will follow through.
along with the cash.
Yeah, true. But he will get the heat first. I'll support that.
It depends on the consumer. You have the millennials and the Gen Z, which would be fine with that maybe. But you have less tech savvy people at a certain age would not agree to that.
No, but the heat is not necessarily always bad. It might generate good publicity, targeting the Gen Zs and especially Generation Alpha.
Yeah.
Maybe you can test in a few stores, though, and I think that's an excellent idea. Because
Oh, you need consistency. He cannot do a brand need to be a brand anyway. Unless he have different brand, he might try it in one brand.
It could
But,
work.
yeah.
It could work in JLT Marina, but it's not gonna work in Dera.
Also
You
in-
understand my point?
Also in
On the contrary, I'll make more money in Dera.
Someone would say, I put my cash with Tesla, for example. Why would I give you my cash for 5? You know, the idea. I mean, it might come a bit negative from some customers.
No, so there are two kinds of cash-paying customers. First kind being cash-paying customers. Yeah, it'll be a problem with them. But then there are the others who have cards, yet they pay cash. At least they will migrate to cards.
Yeah.
So there are a number of ways of looking at it, but ultimately, cash has to go.
Yes,
Yeah. But this is the same logic with Amazon, with Carrefour. So when you order cash on delivery, they always charge you. So
Extra
it's
10 or
not
15,
something
yeah.
that is straight.
Exactly. It's
That's the
not.
point.
No, but it's still alien in restaurant industry. That's the only.
Because it's and somehow it's affecting the customer experience for the journey for exiting. If you are in a queue and you're in retail and so someone paying by cash in front of you, it will take ages by the expense and yeah. So
I think it's also like at some point, yes, cash will change. Of course, will stop to exist, right? You see it in a lot of modern economies.
Yeah.
I don't think it's like per se the the fact that customers just don't want to pay in cash anymore, but it has to do with all like the evolving also economy, right? What you will see soon in the UAE, they will launch their own like a new payment method between the local bank. I think it's called J1. You have seen this in Saudi also with Misa, also like a local debit scheme, which is way more focused on like the local population. So I think at some point you need to be ready to also process like these type of new payment methods, right? It's about adoption of like populations moving into like basically digitizing themselves into with new payment methods. I think the mission is way more, okay, how can I be ready with my POS setup, with my payment terminal, etc. Of course, we're talking a bit about payments here, of course, with an objective. But I think that selection of like technology partners to basically be prepared for like the new economy, new payment methods, that will eventually make that shift from cash to like a digital space.
It's a great question that you raise, and I think from my perspective, it's about your approach. So, do you want to impact customer behavior by penalizing the behavior, which is a very legitimate way to look at it, or do you want to give them a why? So here's why, an incentivization to change the consumer behavior. And I think the lady raised a very, very interesting point. I've lived in many countries, and the one thing I'm learning is people are a lot more similar than you think, especially when it comes to mass consumer behavior. The challenge I got specifically with the kiosk project was, Dubai maybe, Abu Dhabi, you can adapt people to kiosks, but try it in Ajman, try it in Sharjah. The highest scores we had were in those Emirates which were the least likely. And I think how we, as I mentioned, we had 2 or 3 guys leaning behind the counter, waiting to do something instead of redeploying them into a front of house position. But essentially, what we did was we gave comfort and security to the consumer that normally wouldn't have the propensity to use a kiosk, because we utilize the resources, the human resources in the restaurant to deploy them specifically to impact consumer behavior.
The same surprise were for us. We thought Saudi was not ready for technology, and it turned out that it's the most ready country for technology. All their young generation are very savvy on technology. They drive it and they love using it.
Yeah, just to build on, at KFC, what we did, we also similarly, we had the same question, like, what should we do for the cash customers, right? So instead of charging to the customers, we actually use the data that we get from the payment gateways, right? To understand which banks the customers are using, which cards they're using, right? So we partnered with those banks, whether it's Visa, MasterCard, so that we can give incentives to them, especially answering why we are asking the customers to use a card, so that we actually pass on the discount to them or some incentivize to them, so that, they can convert or adapt to card payment versus cash. We believe that, it is a process that it takes, right? It's a journey that we have to go along with our customers rather than enforcing them, because if we enforce them, then they would have multiple options. As you know, they have multiple options, right? So we work with the payment gateway partners. So we get the data, we understand why they are doing it and what ticket size they are using, cash versus card, and then, optimize based on that.
I think your staff as well. Sorry, your staff also are key in diverting the customer and converting them into really using the credit card, and the way they deliver the message, the way they are also incentivized, and understanding why it's important for them in collecting this data or in getting those payments done through the payment gateway.
I think you mentioned the charging, but that has a negative connotation. So if you just reverse it, just incentivize people to use the credit card, give them a 5% discount, I think that might be more better for
absolutely. I stand by what I said at the outset in the beginning, that it's all about customer experience, right? It's UX. And if this is going to really hurt the majority of your customers, then obviously you can't do it. And that's why we haven't done it yet. But I've got enough ammunition from you all now.
So is it because there is a huge amount of cash management fees that when compared to gateway or the pilferages and stuff?
Oh no, I think at the center of this is this ideology that cash has to go.
Yeah.
That's it. There's
cash
nothing
have
else.
high risk as well because you're keeping the cash
Yeah.
within the restaurant, within the employee. It has higher risk.
Technology has the same risk as well, fraud risk. I see the same thing as well. I don't know why this cash business
Not with
has to
Adyen.
go.
And there was a
It's a good advertisement for you.
there was a point in time, I think it was April, May, June of 2020, when there was no cash.
Yes,
Absolutely.
Yes, correct.
Correct.
Yeah. The same topic in the same area about cash for exiting, or what about the e-receipt? Also the receipt, it's the paper. Also, what about the paperless?
Oh, absolutely.
Now it's Saudi, and there is a country they are forcing, and it will come to Dubai. So those also, but there is a challenge. You need to collect some information from the customer to send him the receipt, is by WhatsApp or by. So this is a point. I think. What do you guys think about the e-receipt?
I mean, I'm a big proponent of no printing, obviously, and but in our business, is it possible to implement? It's difficult as of now. It's possible, but at a cost. Now, whether that cost outweighs the cost of printing is the question you need to answer. But if you have a loyalty app, which we do, just like yours, omnichannel,
Yep.
then at least for your customers on the app, it should be possible.
Yeah,
So
because some customer, they hate to give a mobile number or the email address. They hate it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But there is another way. Maybe you can just present a QR code from the customer side, you scan it, and no need to share any information, and you receive the receipt of that transaction. So there is always a solution for this kind of customers. If we really want to push to paperless and to go to the e-receipt, sooner or later it will be mandatory, I think so, by law or something.
I think in
No,
some
you
places, the iPad tech, like I think Akshay is using some, where you can actually tap that person's phone and the bill is actually gone.
Exactly.
So
That's it. Without
that's
getting
but then again, cost is there, API integration.
Yeah, of course.
This is
That's
where
what
you wanna
we
invest.
love this.
Yeah.
We love these things.
And the best thing is, at one point for the year you'll pay X charges, and the next year the charges will keep going up.
Yeah.
So
I think from a regulatory perspective, whether it's now or in the future, I think it's coming, right?
It is,
like
yes,
it's going to be inevitable. The cost associated is going to have to be part of your total cost of ownership. That's just going to be the reality moving forward. If you look at the Western world, that is already happening. That is what has actually made a change on like the scheme side, Visa, MasterCard fees, etc., that get capped in regions like Europe, for example. That is also going to come in places like the Middle East, where card transactions are on the rise, as well as North America, South America, etc. I think for the purpose of today, I think what we have discussed, I want to thank you all, first of all. It was super thought-provoking. I loved your questions, and thank you all for being so honest. I know it's not easy discussing business matters, especially in a large forum, so really appreciate it. I think
especially when we have Domino's and the Pizza Express.
Right on the front, and the lift.
we got a love relationship.
Thomas going to Five Guys.
Yeah, my God. Oh my God.
I need to say, so we did this contest with my nephew. We went to Five Guys and to Shake Shack, and Shake Shack won the
Yeah,
burger.
so I fix it at the same time.
now we just got to deal with pizza and fried chicken, right? But I think from a theme perspective, it all did really make sense. I would love to kind of individually, if payments is something that you guys would like to discuss at length, whether now or in the future, we're always, of course, there for you. Would love to kind of, share what we're doing in the market at length. Didn't want to bore you with that today, but it's super interesting knowing what you guys are up to. So thank you all for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Don't want to keep you for lunch, right? Like,
Oh my God.